On to the other big conversation. Last night, Prime Minister Modi made it clear that none of the essential services will be affected, that food delivery and medicine delivery will go uninterrupted. But this assurance from the Prime Minister is yet to have an effect on the overall system, and of course, for a few days, one can expect to see some problems. The intention tonight is to highlight the problems that we are looking at. The intention tonight is to show what needs to be fixed. Because if we have a broken supply chain, if we have a situation where your kirana store or your chemist or your online delivery guy is not able to serve, then it could get problematic. And that kind of a problem the government wouldn't want. So apart from the fact that the local police needs to stop targeting small vendors and sellers, apart from the fact that the local police needs to know who to allow to travel, who to allow with their work and continue doing their work, there's a lot more that has to be looked at. It wasn't just the delivery boys, viewers, and not just their bosses and the vendors. Even the big giants were forced to come down to their knees in the past 24 hours. And I'm talking about online delivery giants now. Big Basket was in complete chaos, almost shut through the day. They now say they're delivering in about 10 out of 26 cities. But they're still not able to function in other cities. Why? Because the rules and guidelines are so strict. And they're trying to sort this out with the government. And they're not the only ones. Many others have come out with similar problems, that their people are getting harassed and beaten up. This is one Shan Kadawal, CEO of Fresh to Home, was quoted as saying, "Delivery boys were beaten up in Hyderabad, Delhi and Mumbai," said Prashant Tandon, 1MG's co-founder. It's an online pharmacy company. And he said that there have been 17 to 18 incidents of delivery personnel being beaten up. They're not the only ones. Of course, Flipkart said that they are looking at a high demand, and which is why their delivery is getting impacted. But then there were those who said that we are unable to get the things going because the restrictions are so tough. How do we ensure that there is a smooth supply of food and medicines? दवा और खाना दो चीजें जो बहुत जरूरी हैं. नहीं तो people will start losing patience. People will panic, people will run around, people will rush. And that's not what we want. So how do we ensure a smooth supply of essentials and understand why it is critical right now? That's the big conversation I want to have with our panelists this evening. Vijay Shetty, Vice President for Distribution and Logistics at AIIMS, joins us this evening. Meera Iyer, Chief Marketing Officer at MedLife, also joins us this evening. Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, President of the ASSOCHAM body, with us. He's also the MD, of course, of the Hiranandani Group of Companies. Jagannath Shinde, Chairman and Managing Director of All India Origin Chemists and Distributors. And Dr. T.V. Narayana, National President for Indian Pharma Association. Like I said, two things that we are focusing on. And the big part of that is medical supplies. Medicines, equipment that people need. That's what we need. I want to start with Meera Iyer because we just played out, you know, the bite of the founder of MedLife. Your delivery agents, Meera, got targeted by the policemen. Can you tell us, you know, what kind of troubles and challenges you've seen in the last few days?
I think broadly, I would split the challenges that we've gotten over the last couple of days into first the supply chain bit, which is both the first mile and the last mile. And secondly, we obviously also had a huge amount of customer experience issues because of the fact that you're not able to get the supply chain bits right. Equally, I think employee safety and motivation and morale at this time has been a big challenge. And if I were to take both of these two pieces separately, I would say that supply chain in terms of the first mile, which is allowing trucks to basically pass through interstate borders in order to supply all essential items to various fulfillment centers that we all have, has been a challenge because a lot of states have closed borders and they are just not taking the chance. I just think that there is an overall mahal of fear that has set in where people are not able to take quick calls in terms of whom to allow and whom not to allow. Secondly, last mile. You heard our co-founder and CEO talk about the fact that people were beaten up, and yes, that's been a big issue. There are states that have taken actions to issue out permits, but they are not happening quickly enough. Delhi, for example, yesterday we got 7 permits for a whole manpower of more than 100. It just can't be this slow on essential services like this. And then, of course, barricades along the way, and a lot of people basically coming in and stopping people, threatening people without understanding that this is an essential supply serviceman versus a normal citizen.
So what I'm trying to understand also is, if this is a problem, Mr. Vijay Shetty, about governments moving very slowly with giving permissions to who should be on the job, or this is also about lack of understanding for those who are on field, these policemen and other authorities who are checking and stopping and harassing people. Where does the problem largely lie, Mr. Shetty?
I personally feel that I think there is not enough clarity. Okay, of course, I think government machineries are talking about essential medicines can be freely moved out. That is cannot be stopped. But I think at the administration level, particularly at the police level, I think things are not very clear. People are stopped from attending, I would say, offices which are involved in manufacturing of essential medicines and distribution of products, as well as the transporters. Okay, everybody is seen in one lens. Even if we are pasting stickers that these truck drivers or this truck is actually taking products which are pharma products, and it comes under the essential medicine category. Still, there has been very few cases where where we have been able to, I would say, move our goods to our distributors or to our plants, or from our plants to the depots as well. So I think enough clarity is not there. I think administration needs to make sure that there is regular communication which is done, so that I think things would ease out. Okay, that is important.
All right. In fact, if I can just also take that point to Dr. Narayana, National President of the Indian Pharmaceutical Association. Dr. Narayana, you know, how much of stock do usually shops have, chemist shops and medical shops have, that if there is a break in the supply chain, at what point should we start then getting concerned about us running out of medicines?
Yeah, actually, when Honorable Prime Minister discussed the issue of the medicine supply to the community, and in his personal interaction yesterday, day before yesterday, with the pharma industry leaders, the leaders assured that there won't be any supply of shortage of medicine to the public, those who are suffering with the existing diseases and all, which is essential for them. But the problem here is, when the industry manufactures a drug, they have the inventory capacity for not more than 4 or 5 days, depending upon the manufacturing of the drugs. And also they don't have the own transport or logistic to carry the goods by. In the present, the goods, medicines are carried by couriers. From the factories, it goes to super stockist. From super stockist, it goes to stockist, and from stockist, it goes to retailer. The problem main is, from yesterday after this lockdown, majority of the courier officers are denying to take the goods to transport to the rural villages because of the issue with the police, where the entry of the vehicles were blocked. Even they don't have a special permission, though government has given a special permission, they were denied entering into the cities. That is the reason the couriers, which is the major transport of the medicine to the rural masses, is blocked. And this, in addition to this, the workers who are working in shifts in factories were denied going to the factories, and this is going to create a big problem in future.
Yes. When you say big problem in future, how much time do we have, doctor, to fix the problem? How many days?
The industry is continuously manufacturing the drugs.
Yeah.
Immediately within 1 or 2 days, the drugs should be dispatched by various means of transport, either with the local logistics or with the courier services. It should be dispatched immediately, and the government should give a special instruction to the officers involved, that to the police forces, to give a special some sort of GO to the people who are carrying these medicines.
Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani, let me come to you on the other aspect, and it's very crucial to understand why this supply chain should not be disrupted. Because if people don't get their food or medicines, it could lead to a lot of panic. Now, from physical retailers to online guys, the key there is their supply. What should we be looking at right now?
I think the disruption was understandable in the sense that the communication down the line was not very clear by the people at the police nakas. In Mumbai, we have been able to, our hospitals and others have been in touch now with the municipal commissioner, who has provided us all the directions where this kind of thing has been sorted out by issuing necessary directions right up to the grassroots level. And as far as the delivery boys are concerned, also this permission is coming through, but I guess it's taking a little longer than what we expected. We hope that in a day or two, the issues of people who are moving around for the purposes of essential items will get sorted out. My worry is slightly different. I think this will get sorted out. Maybe it will take a day or two more in order to get it enforced right at the grassroots level, because there are lots of people who are trying to abuse the system by trying to say that we are going for the essential items and actually not doing so. But having said that, my worry is slightly different. We have actually stopped manufacturing side of many of these items, and those people who are going to the factories and others, those where the production is taking place, has still not restarted in a full-fledged way. And I think that is going to be a bigger challenge. So we will have to find out some method by which the factories also get restarted, where they have stopped, for instance, pharmaceuticals or essential items where the workers are actually living in the factory itself, but permission has not been given. So number one, I think there is a problem which is getting sorted out, because we are in touch with the police, we are in touch with the local administration, and this is getting sorted out, though I understand that there have been instances where people have been beaten up, and that is really sad that it has happened. But I can assure you that our interaction just now with the police has been very positive in the last couple of hours, and with the local administration, including the municipal commissioners. So I think there are positive signs that this will get sorted out. But I'm worried about the manufacturing of supplies and that end.
But why has that not why has that not restarted, Dr. Hiranandani? What's the problem on that front?
I think differentiation between production of essential goods and the other goods which are being produced by various institutions is an issue. Like, for instance, if a person is manufacturing, he's also manufacturing ventilators, or he's also manufacturing other goods, but he's also got other things being manufactured. So there is a very fine dividing line. Let's presume Maruti tomorrow starts production of ventilators. Now, how many of people are working on ventilators and how many people are working on motor cars will become an issue. So it will have to be relied on the company corporate integrity of these people. So I think another 2-3 days before the system actually stabilizes. But it is very sad to see that some of them got beaten up. That's really going too much beyond their authority and power. But I guess there has been a lot of people who have abused the system also. And I'm really sad to see. I have seen instances where this is happening. And sometimes I feel sorry for the police of how they are going to be able to distinguish between the two if there is too much abuse of the system. So I think it works both ways.
Okay, so I'll come to that point, because it's very important to know and to hear from the representatives of what should be the ideal way to ensure the system works, that the supply chain doesn't get choked or doesn't get cut off, and people get their essential needs. Let me also go to Jagannath Shinde. Mr. Shinde, ये बताइए कि कैसा रहा है सप्लाई सिस्टम पिछले कुछ दिनों में? क्या प्रॉब्लम आ रही है दवाइयों के आने में, दुकान तक पहुंचने में?
So one thing I must clear to you. See, in India, online supply of medicine is banned, or it is illegally they cannot do it. So whatever supply they are giving through is not good, and Drug Control of India is obstructing that. Number one. Number two, see, we have more than 8.5 lakh chemists who are offline and they are on the road today. And no doubt, today after I had a telecon with the Honorable Prime Minister, we have already narrated all this problem of supply and interstate transport. Then in India, we have more than 50 CNF points who supply the goods to more than 1,50,000 stockists, means 60,000 stockists directly and sub-stockists. And they are catering to 8.5 lakh retailer in India, either daily, weekly, or twice in a week, and that system is going on. Now, some problem we did there in Maharashtra also. We have 3 points, Bombay, Pune, and Nagpur, and wherein all the supply of medicine from Bhiwandi to entire Mumbai region, and from Pune, entire Western Maharashtra, and Nagpur, entire Marathwada and Vidarbha region. So this problem of beating the staff and other thing is going on. Our vehicle also stopped, and I think the local police who doesn't know about it, because we are actually with great difficulties. We are asking our labor to work, our colleague to work, employee to work, and with this difficulty, we find last 2 days people entering in the cities, they are beaten. Then they are not transporters are not allowed. Then when we are distributing the medicine to the wholesaler, they are also stopped. Sometimes the people who are taking orders from retailers and giving it to those also stop. I already sent a letter to Prime Minister, Prime Minister Ji, then Principal Secretary, Department of Pharmaceutical. They wrote to the Chief Secretary of all the states. And now yesterday I have sent my complaint to our Chief Minister, also Chief Secretary, the Inspector General of Police, and told them this. We have given identity card to all our employees individually. That should be allowed. And in some of the places, our local association has given identity card. No, such people they should not disturb. But this problem is there. But as rightly said, now within 2 days the situation is under control. And I think we are fighting with the government, because here the government agencies, FDA people, and police sit together. They should understand the problem, because the number of chemists in each cities are also more in number. People working with them, and for supply of medicine, order of medicine is also required manpower, and we require transport also.
Yeah.
If we are discussing this issue with Inspector General of Police and also district collectors.
So okay, I understand, and I think we've highlighted the problem quite well.
I think this problem is there, and I think they should cooperate each other and see that
so I want to focus for the next 15-20 minutes on what the solutions can be. But before that, Meera, you would want to clarify on the fact of ordering medicines online and how they can be delivered.
Absolutely. I would humbly like to request that we don't propagate wrong information. Online medicine and sale of medicines online is an absolute valid business. It has been as much ratified by the high courts that have said that only those who were operating without proper drug licenses should shut, whereas those who are completely adhering to the basic tenets of the Drug and Cosmetic Act are absolutely free to operate. And at this time particularly, this is possibly the best way to actually order your medicines and food, because it minimizes contact, it minimizes the risk of you going out, and therefore social distancing prevails. So I think that to call something illegal and just off the cuff like that is completely incorrect and wrong. right? Yeah, go on. I think we should just go on with the program in terms of what can government possibly do now.
Okay, so what can the government possibly do? And I will start off from the point from the conversation I had with the Maharashtra Home Minister, who was in our studios just a short while ago, and he acknowledged that there was a bit of a problem, and that now they are either issuing some kind of special passes and permits, or there are certain set of documents that people need to carry, inform the local authorities that the stock will be transported from one place to the other. Now, how can the governments make this simpler? Meera, let's begin with you. Should a simple ID of the agent work? Is there some other documentation that will be needed?
The government has, different governments have basically taken on different kinds of mechanisms over here. So there is, let's say, Delhi government that is issuing out permits. There is the Karnataka government that is issuing out letters and giving it. Don't mind what format it is, but it has to come quickly, and it has to basically ensure that it covers the entire set of manpower that doesn't hamper any kind of logistics operations over here. So one is speed, and speed is essential in order to ensure the continuous supply of medicines and other essential supplies happen. The second one I would say is that the government needs to really improve upon cascading information down the line. So yes, like Dr. Hiranandani said, the police commissioners, and indeed today even the Bangalore police commissioner had called one representative over here to his office. The police commissioners are very clear as to what are classified as essential services and what are not. But down the line, communication is going for a toss, because of which all these ugly, violent incidents happen. So there has to be a better mechanism and machinery that allows for this to be cascaded properly. Police are right in being overcautious and generally doubting about credibility of the letters and various permits that are happening. But that can also be solved technologically. The government just puts a little bit of head into that by giving unique, scanning codes, etc.
Okay.
So I just think one, speed, and two, cascade of information right down to the last mile law enforcement agencies is very critical.
Okay, Meera, yes, stay on with us. I've also got Mr. Harsh Mariwala, the chairman of Marico company, joining us on the phone line right now. Marico is also the company that, apart from famous brands like Parachute, sells products under the brand of Saffola. So, or your healthy food items come under that brand. Mr. Mariwala, thank you for speaking with us. This is Tanvi here. To begin with, we are talking about the challenges that we're looking at in the supply chain for essentials, whether it's food or medicines. What are the key issues that the industry is looking at right now?
See, at one level, the government is saying that the supply of essentials is streamlined and, it's in order. But when it comes to running a factory, there are a lot of local issues which are hampering the overall supply chain management. Many of our factories, though we have capacity, the workers are not coming in because the local panchayats are not allowing them to go to the factory. And then we have problem with the transporters. So there are lots of issues in terms of supply chain manufacturing which have to be ironed out. We have the capacity. We have planned to increase our production of Saffola oils, foods, but these are acting as dampeners, and we have to go on fighting constant battles at different states. And I think this is a big challenge for all the essential supplies. We also have a small manufacturing unit in Maharashtra where we make sanitizers under the brand name of Kaya. And there also the factory is operating at 10% capacity because the workers are not allowed to come in, by the local panchayat. So these are small issues which under the garb of this lockout are getting impacted. I think the government has to find out some way to resolve this by giving some passes or some exception where they can show that they are doing something which is good for the country. And I think in our haste for lockout, all these essential supplies are getting impacted. I think the government has to find out a way. I understand that lockout is an important aspect, but at the same time, the supply of essentials also are important. Things like sanitizers also are very, very critical.
Mr. Mariwala, actually, I'm very surprised that you're saying that even the manufacturing facility for sanitizers is not able to function, because that's an essential commodity. It's literally been brought under the law. Then how is it that the government is...
That's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly I'm saying. The local panchayats, everybody takes things in their own hands, the power, whether it's the local panchayat, or the police, or the transport companies are not allowed to operate freely, fearing that we will transport something else instead of the essential. So there are lots and lots of issues in supply chain. Even I know some other companies, medical supplies are not happening because of these some local officials who want to enforce this lockout, and in their zeal for enforcing lockout, it is also impacting the supply of essentials.
Yes, in fact, we had a few retailers and e-commerce portals today say that their entire warehouse has been shut down, that they're not even able to access those products. What do you suggest? What can be the solution, especially because you're highlighting that this is a problem which is happening at an extremely local level?
Yes, so the government has to come out with some guidelines in terms of passes or something which is actually it's like a card which says that okay, you're exempted from this,
Okay, and that would be for factory workers. That would also be then for the transport vendors,
Correct.
for the drivers
Yeah,
of these vehicles, right up to the retail chain.
Correct, absolutely right.
Mr. Mariwala, is there any conversation happening at the state or the central level to iron out these issues yet?
I believe there was a meeting held today and they've come out with some guidelines. So we have to see now whether the guidelines are being adhered to or not. But the government is aware of that, and the new guidelines have come out this evening only, and I got a copy of that.
Okay. Thank you so much for speaking to us and highlighting, some of the other issues that we are facing. I really appreciate you taking the time out. Dr. Hiranandani, let's build on what Dr. Mariwala was also telling us. The fact that this reflects a lot of confusion and individuals in their own capacity taking decisions in a zeal to just shut down everything without realizing. For example, today in Mumbai, we had instances of the local police authorities shutting down shops because they saw a crowd outside the shop. Now, instead of ensuring that the shops are open for longer so that everybody gets the stuff and there is no crowd, they said the shops will only remain open for 2 hours. So there clearly seems to be a problem at the decision-making level.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. I think there are issues on the ground which are really required to be sorted out, and they are not being happening yet. But as Mr. Mariwala told you just now, that the interactions with the police and the municipal commissioners in the city levels is definitely happening. And I think they need to be delegated down to the deputy commissioners of police in the cities, the assistant commissioners of police, and also the local authorities. But a lot of problem is taking place by high-handedness by local panchayats and other authorities, which are really acting beyond their powers. And in those cases, I think an intervention of the police, on the other hand, to see that such authority, extra legal authority does not come into the place to stop such a supply chain to be happen. So, but this was not expected because we thought that the local authorities would not create a problem, but they are doing so. So on both sides, one, understanding it, and I think keeping a senior person responsible for the purposes of implementation of this and getting the communication down the line becomes extremely important. I am seeing that happen. To be honest, there is a positive direction in which Mr. Mariwala indicated today, that there has been discussions which have taken place with the authorities, and things are improving definitely. But as you said correctly, unless it does not fructify in terms of getting essential goods manufactured in essential goods supply chain, reaching the end consumer, and also the fact of crowding, which is a problem over there, really be getting sorted out. Remember one thing, there is a lot of problem in terms of congestions in which people live in Mumbai. The Jhopatpattis, the slums. Essentially, how do you segregate people in those slums? It's a very difficult thing to do. So it's good and nice to say that you can't have crowds moving around, but
Yes.
the slums are full of crowds because there's 6 people living in one small jhopda, and jhopdas are right next to each other, and there are 200 in a lane. How do you sort out those problems? So it is extremely difficult to understand the segregation we are doing, but we understand lockdown is absolutely imperative. But I think it's up to the authorities really to sort out these intermediate problems which are taking place. Initiation has happened. How
Yes.
quickly can we get it? How quickly can we get it done so that the manufacturing of Mr. Mariwala's stuff plus various factories which required to be restarted, which are closed down. I can give you at least a dozen of them which are there. We are in touch with the Maharashtra Industries Minister, Mr. Subhash Desai, to get those things off the ground. And I understand that a committee is, the Secretary and the Industries Commissioner is also now being empowered in order to give such permission for work to start. So we
Okay.
are hopeful that maybe 1 or 2 days, something better will be seen on the ground.
Okay, I must say that it's really good that we have all of you here highlighting these issues, not only for the governments and the authorities to take note and resolve, but I think to a certain extent the people also need to understand what's going on. And through the day we've seen a lot of people even take to social media to complain that they placed these orders but the deliveries have not been made, their food hasn't come, their essential medicine hasn't come, or whatever that it is that they were waiting from Amazon or Big Basket is not being delivered. They also need to understand what it is that people are going through to get this thing delivered to their doorstep. And I will read out some of these comments again. Here is the CEO of Fresh to Home who said, our delivery people are getting harassed and beaten up. We have taken all the necessary approvals, but there is a big failure, a massive failure at the implementation level, which is why Fresh to Home is struggling to get things across to people and delivering it at their places. We also had another online pharmacy company, 1mg's co-founder, tell us that about 17 to 18 incidents of delivery personnel being beaten up has happened. You know what? It just has to happen once in Hyderabad or Mumbai and Delhi, and then everybody else, all the other delivery boys will refuse to work, fearing for their own safety. Nobody wants to go out there and face the cops' lathis. Completely helpless situation it is, and which is why it is important to know that these problems need to be sorted out right away. Grofers tweeted, and the Grofers management said that their warehouse in Faridabad was closed down, that the warehouse was actually closed down by the police, a godown full of essential supplies, factories, warehouses, transport services. These are the aspects for essential services that the government needs to look at on priority. Individually, state governments need to do that. Vijay Shetty wanted to make a point. Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Tanvi. I think there are two aspects. I think even if in the next 2 days things are easing out, okay, let's understand, let's say government has now allowed or the police is now allowing the local transporters to move in with the essential commodities. But understand, because of the fear among people, already there is scarcity of drivers, the cleaners, the loaders, all across the country, okay? What are we going to do about that, okay? How are we going to build that confidence in them, okay? There are long haul vehicles where I think all the truck drivers would stop at dhabas. Okay, today all the dhabas are closed. How are they going to survive? Okay, today trucks are stranded in the state borders for more than 2 days. Okay, drivers have moved out. Who's going to ply their trucks? So I think we have to also think from that front as well. Of course, easing out is one solution, but how we can actually give this confidence to the community, particularly when I say the transport community, how they can come together and actually work along with the manufacturers and distributors who are into supply of essential medicines and food. And that is one thing I think which one should focus, because as one of the panelists talked about manufacturing. Today, most of our third-party manufacture from where we actually manufacture goods are locked out. Materials are not flowing in from our loan licensing. Even our manufacturing facilities are operated at 30% because people are not joining the work. And if this continues, I understand today we have extended the lockdown up to 14th of April. can we say that beyond that this would not go? And if we continue to work at a manufacturing capacity of 30 to 40%, imagine what will happen. Okay. So what is more important is that our seaports, our airports, import and export clearances are also getting stuck. Okay. People are not clear. Transporters are not allowed. How, if assuming that now in next 2 or 3 days this actually eases out, but there are also supplies issues. Many of the APIs are imported. Okay, what happens to that? There are not many airlines who have actually said they are not going to carry goods, or they have actually shut. India has also done that for domestic and also for some international travels. So how are the raw materials going to come? Today, at many locations, we have the API to manufacture the bulk drug, but we don't have packing material to pack the goods. So I think it's a chain in an overall aspect we have to see. So I think from a transportation aspect, of course, definitely I think in the next 2 days, if there is proper communication and clarity given to the local administration and local police at all states are very much clear, saying that what is essential drugs, and people are encouraged to actually come in, and particularly all those who are actually working in the manufacturing and distribution of medicines are encouraged to join office. And from an organization perspective, we also need to make them feel safe and take care of them in terms of their commute, because now metros are not running, rail services are shut. How are they going to commute? So
Correct.
organizations like ours have actually provided private vehicles, but yeah, so these are the things which needs to be actually incorporated and action needs to be taken at that end to actually make sure that people are also encouraged to come. They are also seeing that this is, they are not only working for, they are working towards this nation, for the country, and how they can support in this difficult situation.
You know, Mr.
Okay,
Shetty, I'm
that is also
completely
very
with you
important,
on
because
board
getting
on that
manpower
aspect.
back to 100% is...
Yes, and in fact, you know, before this conversation, the previous one that we had was about, you know, how people who need to step out and who are part of the essential services world and who need to get to work to ensure that we get our food and we get our medicines and we get our news, you know, about what's happening on a daily basis. Those people are getting targeted right now, and they're getting harassed by the authorities, and they're getting harassed by the police, and that's completely, you know, it's the biggest challenge that we are facing right now. So I get what you're saying. Instead of encouraging them to step out and do their work, we're looking at a situation where obviously if they step out, they get beaten up by people. Dr. Narayana also wanted to come in and make a point. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, actually, as our friend suggested, there will be a shortage of the APIs,
Yeah.
manufacturing of the drugs. Absolutely, there is no shortage right now. Our industry is well equipped with the storage of this API.
Okay.
And around $4 billion we used to import earlier, and $4 billion we used to export. Right now, there is no exports, and all industries are concentrating on manufacturing of the drugs, continuous production of the drugs. So there won't be any shortage of API at present, not even present, even up to 4-6 months. So that was the opinion of
Okay,
my
but
industry
Dr.
friends.
Narayana, like some of the FMCG goods makers are telling us that the factories are not functional. Even the sanitizer
Yeah.
factories are not working. Is that a challenge?
Because 100% of the factories belongs to private sector, most of the factories.
Yeah.
And the private sector, the identity card, all these things were not considered by the local police. Police are doing their duty because of their instructions. Thing is, they are looking at the spread of this disease and the side effects, but they are forgetting, unless the medicines were supplied to the regular users, that is going to create a havoc in future. The people suffering from heart disease, people suffering from neurological disorders, and people suffering from diabetes, they will fell shortage of the drugs unless the supply chain is maintained properly. And also, the workers who are going to work in shift system in the factories should be given a special permission from the officials, and also the courier services should be given special instructions to carry the goods and the transfer to the stockist level. And that's what even our Jagannath Shinde, AOCD, clearly indicated.
So I think I
8.5
completely take your
pharmacies.
point, and I think the governments, individual state governments, local administration, district magistrates, police
Yes.
commissioners need to move very, very
Yeah.
quickly to sensitize the authorities on ground on who is allowed and who must be allowed to travel so that this supply chain doesn't break. I'm going to thank all of our experts for joining us right now, but you heard them. You heard the fact that if this supply chain is broken, the crucial medicine for the diabetics, the crucial food items will not reach your table, which is why the government needs to start listening to these manufacturers, to these distributors, to these retailers right now. For 21 days, people will stay home. People have accepted this challenge. People did observe it and follow it today, barring a few stray incidents. But that's as long as when they need their essentials, those are provided. And I'm not talking about any luxuries. I'm talking about bare minimum simple food items, the dietary requirements for those who are ill or have a medical condition, and of course, the drugs, the medicines themselves. From manufacturing to the transport of this to being sold at shops. Please, let's just ensure that people who are connected to this supply chain, to this world, are allowed to get to work. The drivers cannot be scared that once they have delivered the product, delivered whatever they are carrying in their trucks, on their way back, they'll be stopped by the police and beaten up and asked questions and harassed. Because then the drivers will not turn up and the stock will start rotting at the warehouses or at the factories itself. Think about it. Thank you so much. We hope the governments move fast on these key issues. Thank you so much.